Welcome to another episode of Design in Progress. I'm your host, Endgamer. We are back with a little mini designer chat, monthly designer chat. I don't know, we should come up with a name for this show since we're gonna be doing it kind of once a month. Which is basically I just have people on from the Discord server, and we kind of chat about whatever projects we're currently working on, any issues we're running into, give some feedback to each other, some problem solving to each other, and give a little bit of feedback just from kind of the talking through things without going into too much play, and everyone gets a 10, 15, 20 minutes to chit chat about what the heck is going on with their game, and then we'll call it a night. So joining me tonight, we've got Fancy Zergling,
Hey.
we've got Freak Arc or Randominous, whichever
Hello.
whichever we are feeling calling him today. And then for the first time, although you joined us very briefly for one, but then you had to hop out, we've got Call.
Yeah,
How's it going, man? He's
I'm fine.
great. So to start us off, I'm just gonna kind of talk through what's going on with Dungeons of Gul'drun, which if people have watched the video a couple times ago, I'd come up with like a whole skill tree, and we talked about this on the last designer kind of meeting, that I'd come up with like a skill tree card for each person. But then I went and started talking with not distributors, manufacturers, and realized that like each one of those was going to cost like $1, and there's going to be 6 of them, and then you have to multiply that by 4 or 5. So it's going to add like 10 or 15 or $20 ish, depending kind of on the exact sizing of everything, to take it from maybe being like a 60-ish dollar game to being like a 75, $80 game, something like that. And I was just like, oh crap, okay, I have to come up with something else. So I came up with these skill cards, but we kind of haphazardly came up with them. So today what I've been doing is slowly going through and being like, okay, these ones did not work and these ones do work. And some of them are just way too powerful. Like just adding straight damage just was not working. It's just too powerful. And I felt like the add extra card things was kind of just boring. Like the whole point of a deck builders is usually keeping the decks kind of as small as possible. And even though adding consistency was kind of fun, it ended up just kind of being worse in general because your deck just got huge by the end of it. But the real problem that we were having with this on the test that we did was with scaling, which is like most of the factions or factions characters, whatever you want to call it, are pretty balanced. Like the ranger and the guardian, and the cleric a little bit. The bard is a little wonky, but the fighter and the wizard are the two that are like kind of sitting in weird spaces, because the fighter just has like physical damage that they're doing, and it tends to be not as high, or like it's a little bit higher than what other people are doing, but then they're having to deal with like a crap ton of lashback damage, so it just ends up feeling bad. And then the wizard has the opposite problem, which is they're doing all of this mental damage, but it's scaling at like kind of erratic way, and then they end up being either doing 0 damage or doing like 25 damage, and it's just like absurd. So we're trying to figure out exactly how to balance that, which is a difficulty, honestly. And I think the next step is probably just taking all of the fighter cards and like adding 1 to all of their physical damage, and just being like, they need to do more damage. They're like the character that does physical damage. Like everyone else has like a mix somewhat, where they're like focusing on mental and they do a little bit of physical, or they're focusing on ranged and they do a little bit of physical, or they're the bard and they're kind of jack of all trades. But the fighter is the real like, I'm going to do physical damage now. and it's just not quite worth it payout wise. So, and the other problem is then like balancing how fast encounters go versus how much damage is being dealt versus how many counters are kept track of. So it's a real pain in the butt.
At least heading in the right direction.
Yeah. It's one of those things where like I am at least comforted, and I think I've said this before on some of the other episodes that we deal with this game. I at least feel comforted that I feel like we're getting close to the point where there's no like major mechanics that people are like, this mechanic just doesn't work. It's all people being like, I wish that this did like one more damage, or like that one card that you had was broken. That was too many things on one card. You're like, all right, cool. It's like just like teeny tiny balance things, which of course make the game, but
Hmm.
the overall mechanics seem to be working really well. So we're slowly getting there, and we also have started talking to a couple artists. I think we've kind of zeroed it in on I think our final artist actually, but until everything
Oh yeah,
is official, I don't want to be announcing
yeah.
any names or anything. But excited to getting actual art on these cards that isn't just like clip art. So
Have
This
you
is
decided
AI
if you're
art.
going to
oh,
go ahead?
Is this AI art?
No, it's not AI art. This is all from or it might be AI
Online.
art. I don't know. But it's from I used
Google.
Dextrous to make this, which is the like a card making online
Oh,
app,
okay.
and they have a library of art that they're like you're free to
I
use this
see.
art as long as you're just playtesting. Once you start producing, go get your own art. So,
Mm.
um
Okay.
which is just super useful to have a giant library of art that you can use while you're playtesting and just be like, I don't know, it's something poisony, it's green and ookie cookie. it,
Yeah.
it gets the point across, and then once we actually have our artists, we can show them all these and be like, I don't know, something kind of like this,
Yeah.
vaguely. So
Yeah.
So, are you looking to go to Kickstarter, or do you guys have a publishers you're pitching to?
this one, I think that we're actually going to do Kickstarter. It'll probably be
Okay.
near the end of the year, maybe like September or so, that we actually are launching this. But we kind of are. We're trying to not rush, but like really, nose to the grindstone on balancing this and get it to a point
Yeah.
where we can be. I think the plan right now is to go to Gen Con with this year, hopefully
No, that's cool.
with some of the art done, so we can be showing people and
Yeah.
have not a booth, because geez, you have to reserve those booths almost a year in advance. It is insane.
Oh yeah. I'm
Um,
surprised it's only a year out. I thought that'd be like a multi-year thing. Like,
no,
oh,
it's
you
not.
didn't
It's
reserve 2 years in
but it's
advance.
like
Sucks to
you
suck.
know, Gen Con is at like the end of summer, and you have to book your booth in the fall of the year
Yeah.
before. So it's like literally like a month after Gen Con, you have to book for the next year. So it's pretty nutso. But they have a lot of open halls with open play. They have a lot of the first exposure, double exposure. The double exposure hall, which has we met a lot of people there last year, and just to have great feedback and stuff like that. So
Uh,
the hope is to be doing that, and hopefully maybe talk to some publishers, and maybe they get it, or we do the Kickstarter and go from there. So um,
awesome.
that's most of everything. You guys aren't going to be able to see this, but the people watching, they're going to be able to see it. I have been working on spaceship designs for whatchamacallit, the space game that is yet untitled, and have like the 3D printed the chips out and 3D printed dice and stuff like that, just to have everything kind
Well,
of
what changes have you made to that game
oh
since
man, this
the
is
last time
really
we talked?
it's that one is also kind of in a space where it's mostly just balance at this point. Like
Okay.
most of the mechanics work pretty darn well, and it's literally just balancing each of the factions because I want them to be asymmetric-ish,
Mm-hmm.
in kind of the opposite way of Root, which is like Root has like a very base like rules system that everyone uses, and then like the way that you score points is vastly different. And I wanted it to
Yeah.
be like, okay, the way that everyone scores points is mostly the same, but the way that each person does that is a little bit different. So it ends up being kind of a weird halfway mark. But
Okay.
I'm looking forward to starting to really get into that one once this is in a better space. But I do feel like this is firming up quite well. So yeah.
The first thing you were talking about was the skill trees,
Mhm.
and the cost associated.
Mhm.
So it comes down to like these like little cards.
Mhm.
Manufacturing them are is cheaper than manufacturing the skill trees, or are these going to be like a cardboard like pop out?
No, so yeah, these will be like half cards.
Okay.
And yeah, it turns out that printing yeah, like 50 of these, whatever it ends up being, 18 times
Uh,
6, so more than 50, but whatever, 75 of them is cheaper than doing the 3 cuz the problem with the skill trees, I could even pull up a version of the that had the skill trees. This is
Hmm.
the problem was there were so many of them that it would need to be
Yeah.
like literally an 8.5 by 11. So
Uh-huh.
it'd be like as big as a root player board, basically. And that would just be
Yeah.
like your thing that is off to the side that you're moving stuff around.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
you'd also have to have your player board that has you're keeping track of life and your level and all of
Mhm.
that stuff. And it was just like,
Yeah,
oh, this like
that's just awkward, especially when it's like not the focus of the game
right.
too. I
It's
see, I
awkward. It's
get
not the
that.
focus of the game. And it was they were like I can't remember exactly what it was per, but it was like 75 cents each, which you're like, oh, that's not that bad. But every single cost when you're manufacturing, you have
Hmm.
to basically multiply times 5. So it's like, okay, 75 cents times 6 times 5, and you're like, crap, yeah, that's like 10, $12, 15 bucks.
Yeah.
It's like it adds up really fast. It's like, shit, we have to cut money somewhere. I have to just start
Can
cutting
someone
Hmm.
components.
hi? Can someone stream?
Can someone stream? Are you having trouble
Yeah.
connecting?
Not exactly, but never mind. Hello?
Hello?
Can someone stream? Just stream for me. Okay.
I'm checking. Here, hold on one second. We got some technical difficulties.
What?
I can. Here we go. There we go. Is that going to be better for you, Ash?
Yeah, much better.
All right, great. Anyway, I think that's most of what I had to talk about, which is, not a lot of questions, but lots of updates. Little mini updates for everything.
No, no,
So,
no.
oh no,
Sorry, sorry. I'm talking to my mom.
it's okay.
So she's not.
Zergling, why don't we go over to you? Let me promote you. Let me promote
Sure.
everybody so that they can start loading some stuff in once we get there. And you should be able to just load in whatever save you got,
Yeah.
Zergling.
So I prepped one for the talk, but
There we
this
go.
is there is a tabletop sim mod I have ready to go, but
Oh,
this
nice.
one was prepped for the talk.
Mm,
So this is before the beetle drink wakes. I talked about it last time.
mm,
The summary of it is a coin inspired type game. It's more probably like their counterinsurgent series, which is a little more simpler take on their coin series.
mm,
But it's since last time my main focus was getting the cards done,
mm,
and now I have characters and actual characters and events with some
ooh.
art to distinguish the two card sets.
Oh, nice.
Um, so as you can see here,
Oh,
like
sorry,
for
I'm just gonna pull
example,
this down.
temples.
Mm,
It has its A side, which is the top, and B side, which is the bottom events that a player who chooses to take the event can choose between those two.
right.
And then up on the top, you still have the turn order and the name of the event.
Mm,
Um, the another major change I did was I took away the bag building aspect. It was just too finicky.
mm,
So instead, I made the units flippable.
mm,
So when you send one of your units to the priesthood, instead of putting them in the bag and taking a priest cube and putting it on the map,
mm.
now you know where all your like loyal priests are, and it smoothed out a lot of the rough edges of it,
Oh, that's
especially
nice.
for when determining who's blessed. I was able to transition that to like electoral vote college negotiation type sub game that you
Right,
get to play when that happens, and it was
right.
just far more interactive, and I didn't feel like as bad.
Yeah.
Um,
That is interesting too, because
so
then you can start like applying different variables to like, okay, if my priest dudes have, X ability, but my non-priest dudes have Y ability or something like that.
yeah, yeah. So for there's something like that in the game too. So for
Mm,
example, when you have a priest that's loyal to you, in the fight, or if you're blessed and you're using other people's priests, the
mm.
priests help your guys not run away from the fight
Oh,
when
nice.
when the
Yeah.
fight's happening.
Mm,
So and they're better at scaring other people's away too when you're using them offensively. So speaking of that, I went ahead and combined and moved around some of the actions as well.
mm,
So now there's two types of attacking in the game. There's essentially a battle, which is your traditional type of trying to remove pieces from the map. And
mm.
then there's intimidate, where you're trying just to get pieces out of the hex, which is a little easier if you're using priests.
So you're kind of just like
Uh,
shoving people out as opposed to actually removing
yeah,
them. That's
yeah.
interesting,
The
actually. Yeah.
because my thing is like your beetle bolts are like just little guys. They're not necessarily like you're not armies going and fighting each other. You're
Right.
more like patricians in Italy trying to like get people's family out of the vineyard and
Right.
like steal the vineyard for yourself
Right.
kind of deal.
It's more one dude on a map versus a group of dudes on a map.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are like your lieutenants or like your family members, your like lesser cousin type deals
Right.
who you're sending out to do your
It's
dirty work.
Vinny. You're sending Vinny out. He's gonna go talk to
Mhm.
some people.
Yeah, and it's not like you necessarily super hate each other. You're just like vying for control.
You're like, hey, if you could not be here, that would be great.
Yeah. Um, Another thing. So some of the issues I was having was one, the action economy was so tight. It was hard for people to justify taking characters. So I combined the recruit characters with recruiting units. So when you take a I call them now standard action.
Excuse me.
You can recruit units and recruit from the character deck, which now like lets you actually access the lets you get to the more asymmetry kind of part of the game,
Going kind of
and
more right off
gives
the
you
bat.
more. Yeah. And it just like lets you have more texture in the game without having to spend too many resources to get there, like action wise, because
hmm
really you're only being able to act every other card, so it's hard to justify not being able to do anything and taking one of these
Right, to be
cards.
like, this
So
has
now,
gotta be worth it. Yeah.
yeah. So now when you recruit, you can spend one to access the market, and then it's a very packed recruitment system where every guy you skip, you put an additional
Right. Yeah.
resource on and you
hmm
take the guy you want. And then these resources eventually move to the market and this guy becomes super valuable.
Right. Right. Yeah. My my reference for that is Small World because
Yeah.
that's the first place I saw it. But yes.
Um the last major change I made
hmm
was I've integrated a lot into passing.
hmm
Um so passing is not just like, oh, I want to get better position on the next card, or there's nothing I really want to do right now,
hmm
so I'll pass. So the first major change I made was making it so the characters are even more valuable. When you pass, you can discard a character based on its tag
hmm
to perform like a special thing, like stealing victory points or calling a snap election to get a new blessed.
Hmm.
Someone will let you go next round. Another person will let you take a secondary or primary action by spending favor. And these actions also like encourage you to have other
hmm
characters with the same tag too. So it
The
lets
the
you.
tag being like warrior, criminal,
Yeah,
or artisan priest. Uh,
yeah. And then the last thing I
Interesting.
did with pass was combine it with tax. So tax was just too good of an action. Like it was just constantly happening when I was testing
hmm
with myself. Like it just was too good of an action. So I put it in pass to um, kind of balance things out. So when you pass, you have the first person who passes has access to the market fair.
hmm
Um, so when you go to the market fair or when you run the market fair, you get one of your faction tokens, the little go
hmm
things. You get one of your faction tokens per place you own, and then if you control somebody else's faction token on the map, then you can roll to see if you tax them.
Mm.
Then the second part of market fair is you get to trade with anybody else. So people, you could be like, "Hey, I have my green faction tokens. I'll trade you for that red faction token." Because when when you spend your own faction tokens, not
hmm
only are they only worth one resource,
hmm
whereas other people's are worth two, but it goes back in the bag.
hmm
Whereas when you spend somebody else's faction token, it's worth two, and you send it back to them, so it stays in the economy.
Mm. Hmm.
And then the last part of the market fair is not only can you trade with people, but other people can trade if you allow it. So you could be like ask for a bribe to be able to trade. And when you're
Okay.
trading, you could be like, "Hey, I'll give you one of my faction tokens if you give me like this hex over here. I'll pay you X."
Hmm.
and then you could transfer that, or you could transfer units or priests. Um,
Interesting. I mean, that's
yeah,
that's
but
it sounds like a lot going on for like one action of being like you can do some market stuff and you're taxing people and people can maybe trade also.
the markets. This is recruit. That's separate from this. Or well, I mean, you have to discard a
Mm,
character to do the actions up here with the character cards. So
right.
it's expensive to do that, but you also have to be the first person to pass at a turn to run the market fair.
Okay.
So it's not like everybody's doing that like every turn, because you're giving up like your board position and
Right.
potentially your position on the card. But sometimes it just needs money in the game, because if somebody's being greedy and not trading and spending all their resources,
Hmm.
then all the money goes out of the game, and all the standard actions require money.
Right. Hmm. Well,
So that's where we're at now.
you've certainly made a lot of progress. That's for sure. Jeez.
Yeah, it's definitely at a point where I think I need to start bringing people in to like actually like shake it down,
Right.
um, and make sure I'm not just building the game based on how I play
Right.
games. But it's
Right.
definitely
You need
to a
people to
point where
start
you can,
poking holes in things and being like,
yeah,
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but that doesn't make any sense." And you're like, "Oh, okay, it made sense to me." But it's amazing how often like I'll like start a whole design and you get 2 or 3 weeks into it and you're like, "Yeah, this makes total sense." And then you like have someone else play it and they're like, "What are you talking about?" And it's just like, "Okay, I this doesn't make any sense at all. Never mind. I have to rewrite things." But it's always good to get that extra feedback. So yeah, we'll definitely have to. Maybe we can see if we can get you in later this month or early next month. I'm, this month is a little booked because I'm moving at the end of the month. But yeah, this looks like it's coming along swimmingly though. Did you have any like particular question problem areas that you wanted to talk about, or just the general update kind of? Zergling?
sorry, I accidentally muted myself, I guess.
I was gonna say, man, you went quiet.
um, yeah, I was like trying to say something. You kept talking. I was like, what? What?
Just
But I
ignore
guess I
you.
was
Yeah.
muted. Yeah. So the next, I don't really have much in the question wise at the moment. Just right now, my next like big hurdle, I think, is deciding like how much complexity I want to add when it comes to the map
Hmm.
tiles, because I'm kind of at a crossroads where like the map is really, I feel, holding the game back, just because, at least when I've been playtesting, maybe because I'm like more of a like defensive player or
Hmm.
reactive player,
Hmm.
it feels like it's too easy to turtle. And um something I didn't mention is like when you stop these unexplored hexes, if you don't pay for your guys in them at the end of the round, they get discarded. So it's rough for people like who aren't the scorn to move through here and like get places if there's not roads. So it's kind
Hmm.
of like really holding the game back and like encouraging turtling. So I'm at a crossroads where I have to decide, do I want to like make a bespoke map for the game, or do I want to like add more like texture to these tiles so that they actually give people incentive to go after other people's tiles.
Right. I mean, and
So that's
so
where I'm at.
so like from what you just said, so like somebody might be able to go into an unexplored tile and then go here, and then they'd have to spend an action to actually explore it.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
well, so how
Or
it works right now is for there's no more exploring. The unexplored tiles are like wilderness now.
mm,
So for in this game, red is the blessed player right now, and blue is the
hmm.
scorned player.
Right.
So blue's pieces can stay in here, because when you're scorned, you're making deals with the dregs of society. Like you're
Right.
being those people will actually work with you because like everybody else is shutting you out. So like all the bandits and stuff are like willing to let you hang out in the wilds.
Hmm.
So the blue guy, the scorn guy, doesn't have to pay. But if the red guy were to come in here at the end of any turn, he's not ineligible. He
Hmm.
has to pay a resource, and for every hex he has a dude in an unexplored hex. So
Right.
this
Ooh.
so it becomes expensive if you don't like spend like both your primary and secondary actions to
Hmm.
move somebody, because
Right.
Unix can only move once per action unless they use a road.
Right. I mean, I
So that's why
wonder.
roads are important
Yeah, I
too.
wonder if
So
you like by adding texture, you could have two different kind of pathways, one
mhm,
on each side. Like the unexplored could literally just be this, but then
yeah,
once it's explored, you
uh
get,
huh,
something like that. So it's like, okay, once I kind of like settle this,
yeah.
and
An idea I had.
maybe the scorned person can ignore this and they can go wherever they want, but it's just everyone else
Yeah,
who's like, okay, we have to go this road that's been
yeah.
knocked through, or something like
Well,
that.
that's what these are. So that's what the roads act as is
Mm-hmm.
like they let you move. Essentially, if you move from a tile with a road to
Mm-hmm.
another tile with a road, you can move through here. But you have to pay a toll to the blessed player in order to use the roads,
Right.
unless like there's a scorn there guy. But that's edge case stuff. What I was talking about texture, what I kind of like am interested in is like tiles like give some sort of bonuses like
Mm-hmm.
that encourage people to like want to move out from like their strongholds.
Right, right. And I mean that'll come naturally once you start
Yeah.
adding like actual words to this other than just
Hmm.
explored and not explored. Like, okay,
Yeah.
this one's gonna get me extra money at the end of the turn, and this one's gonna let me
Hmm.
recruit an extra. Like that's gonna be pretty easy to start just being like, okay,
Yeah.
each of them, you have a lot of different actions that are possible, and just giving
Hmm.
people free ones of those actions is going to be super powerful. And people are going to be like, well, I have to
Yeah.
go there now because it's going to give me an extra
Uh-huh.
dude every turn, or it's going to give me extra money, or it's going to give me an extra build, or I can
Yeah.
attack with my priests now, or whatever, whatever it ends up being. So, but that,
Yeah. I think once I get like some actual like people to play the current version of the game and see like where that's at, that'll definitely inform me about the best way forward for those though. Because right now I just have a lot that needs to actually get shaken out.
right, right. Yeah, and making sure the base systems
Hmm.
work and then going through into
Yeah.
the rest of it and going, okay, now how do I start messing with the base
Hmm.
systems?
Yeah, but overall, I'm happy with where it's at.
Oh,
I definitely think you could play through the game without it breaking, and I'm
that
happy.
yeah, that's 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 always an achievement. It doesn't sound like a good big achievement, but you're like, yay, it didn't break itself.
Yeah,
That's awesome. Awesome, great. Do we want to go to Ash? Do you want to go next, man? I know you said you had some questions on some stuff earlier today. Well, maybe, maybe not. See, is he messaging? No. Okay, well, maybe not Ash. Maybe let's go to Freak Arc, and we'll circle back to Ash.
freak you there.
Is Freak
Yeah,
here?
yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm
Sorry.
just hearing jet noises and stuff in the background. I
Yeah.
wasn't sure what was going on.
Yeah. I'm not sure. We'll something's going on with Ash, but
Yep, yep.
um, there we go. All right.
Well,
Yeah. Let me just send Ash a message. Being, um,
this reminds me of food chain magnet with the all the cards set up like this.
yeah.
So, recently we did a play test for this. This is cast off casting.
We did.
As you see, I have
It's a
my
lot of fun.
obnoxious void. But, um, sorry, someone's messaging me.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm also gonna just put down Ash's volume so we don't need to listen to air traffic
Mm-hmm.
control or whatever it is that they're doing. Type here, die.
Oh, my friend wrote that because I left. We were playtesting the game,
Mm.
and then I was like, "Oh shit, they're looking for people. Let me join them real quick." So I left him in here for a minute while you were setting things up, and he
Oh,
texted me
you
right back.
fool! You left him.
But yeah. Last time I did a playtest with you, Zero, and I forget the third guy's
I think it
name,
was it
and
Will? I think it was Will,
I
or
think it
maybe it
was
wasn't.
Will.
Oh no, it was
It was
Ned. It was Ned.
Ned. Yeah,
Yeah.
Ned. I think.
Awesome. So how did our feedback turn out for you?
Your feedback was great. I went out of that call and I went straight to my friend and I was like, they ate me up. They destroyed me. They spit me out. And it was
You're
great.
like, it's
As you can
all
see,
it's all gone to shit. I'm so happy.
yeah. My favorite part about game dev is when people shit on you. It's really
It's the
nice.
best. Literally the best.
I can actually pull up some of those old decks now so we can compare and contrast the
Hmm.
cards. But, oop. Uh-oh.
Oh
Okay.
boy. Oh my gosh, things are dying.
Yep, I accidentally spawned two of them.
It hurt itself in confusion. There we go.
But yeah, we've
Yeah,
had
these are just
a
like,
big redesign in the visuals for the cards. If I can
mm-hmm.
just find some.
Yeah, it's just like cleaner.
Yeah, so I've one of the biggest points of feedback was deck restrictions in construction wise, and then there was another feedback point of it was overly complicated.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the text had symbols in it that you'd have to sort of figure out as you're playing. A lot of the symbols were the same things, and it was
Just
all
with
a mess.
slightly different colors, and we're like eight
Yeah.
8 pixels high. It's like, what is this symbol?
What does this mean? Exactly. So I've streamlined everything.
That's great.
Now, uh, I've streamlined the colors again to match that streamlining as well. So
Mm-hmm.
now there's green for spells, red for minions, blue for charms,
Mm-hmm.
and right below the cost up here, you can see three colored orbs. Those orbs are how you construct a deck now. So when
Ooh.
constructing a deck, you take one of the new leader
Oh,
cards.
where's a leader card? I'm so excited about this.
Right here, it's Ivy, the Itchy Pest.
Mmm.
Leader cards provide you with your starting life total, which is that number in the top right,
Ooh, that's
as well
interesting.
as what color cards you can have in your deck.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I only have colored cards of one color per.
Mm-hmm.
In the future, you're probably going to see cards that are both red and green that require your leader to have red and green colors.
So this doesn't mean red and green?
It does mean red and green, so you can
Okay.
have this card
Oh,
because it
okay.
has
You
red.
meant you don't have creature cards that are more than one color. I see what you're saying. Okay.
Exactly.
Got
I
it,
don't
got it,
have
got it.
creature cards, cards, charms that are more than one color,
Right.
just to make deck building a bit easier in the early stages.
Right. But I could see you doing some like super powerful ones that are like, yeah, this is a only a green red card. And it's super
Exactly.
powerful, so you can only use it in those sorts of decks.
Especially once archetypes become more defined within the color
Right. So
restrictions.
do you only have 3 colors then basically?
Right now I have three colors, the red, the blue, and the green, and then there's also colorless,
Hmm.
technically, which is a
Right.
card which lacks all colors, which
Right,
can
but
be
then
any.
you get multiple combinations from the leaders being like, okay, this one's just red, or this one's red blue, or red green, or yeah,
Yep.
you get a bunch of different combinations then. That's nice.
Right below you can actually see all of the combinations I'm using.
Ah, here we go. All the leaders.
There's actually 21 of them.
Oh my gosh, you made so many.
Yep. Hold on. Here they all are.
Whoa, sweet.
And so I'm basically currently in the stages of refining
Mm,
these guys, trying to figure out because the leader cards, because you guys were talking about player identity as a big thing in a lot of modern card games.
mm,
Leader cards are a way to represent a player's identity
right.
through how they play. For example, you would play um, a very aggressive deck would probably be Grumbly, the Lord of Monsters, because it's all about attacking with as many minions as you can.
Where is that?
In the bottom left corner.
Aha, Grumbly, Lord of Monsters. Yes.
And
Ooh,
there's also, let me turn that guy down real quick.
ooh,
Um,
nice.
there's also cards like the Lord of Necrofancy, which is built around an entire mechanic in and of itself of
Mhm.
playing cards from your discard and sort
Nice.
of playing up that aspect of the game. And there's all sorts of different combinations that we're currently refining. Ivy, which was that first card I showed you, has probably gone through 6 iterations already because she was the most overpowered card as is.
Where'd that one run off to?
Right over here.
Ah, there it is.
Yeah, that one was so strong. But yeah, currently looking to refine deck building. I've been playing back and forth with my friend to get like surface level things. Like, does this feel right? Does this
Right.
level of growth feel good for how this deck plays, how this leader plays? And I'm sort of just slowly refining like 3 cards here, 4 cards there, and
Right. And like we kind of talked about near the end of,
mm,
when we were playing, the biggest test is really gonna be when you just like hand a person, you're like, here's this, here's all these cards, go make a deck. And
exactly.
and it's gonna be like, oh crap. People are gonna break the crap out of this game. But
My
that's
friend has done
awesome.
that. Yeah, my friend has already been doing that with me a
Hmm.
lot. Every time we get together, he likes to make a new deck and just,
Just
hey, by the way, here's a mechanic I found, and then obliterate
here's
me real
here's a
quick.
broken combo I found. Did you stick with 5 as the max, or did you lower it or mess with it at all?
I lowered it back down to 4 cards in a deck of one
Yeah,
given name
yeah.
because 5 did show to be
It just was
pretty frequent.
right. I was just like, okay, so you could hypothetically, given if there were enough of the cards, you could just have like, it's a 60 card decks, right? So it's like, okay, I
Yep.
just have like these 12 cards. That's it. Like you don't actually end up with that much variance then.
No, not at all. This is how some of the decks actually ended up being as
Right.
well. So limiting
So
it back to 4 surprisingly provides you with a lot of room.
it's it's amazing how on the money a lot of things in Magic the Gathering are, and you're just like, ah, yeah, shit, that was a good idea.
It is a good idea. It is a good idea.
It's like, oh, they they actually put thought into that. Look at that. Who'd have thunk it?
Yeah. I've also
um,
been working on making the game a lot faster in its
mhm.
pace
Yeah, I
because
see
there
that
were
all of these just have literally just get to rally one at the start of all your turn, which I think definitely that sounds like it will
yes.
add a lot to the game of just being able to like, okay, I'm like gonna be doing stuff like right off the bat.
So most of them have that ability. There's
Most.
one of them that doesn't, I'm pretty sure.
Well, that sounds awesome. I want to play that one. I don't see it right now, but
I think I changed that one's ability, so never mind.
no. I do
Yeah,
love
there was a card
the
that did
very
that.
intentional like breaking of a rule of is like every single one of these leaders has you rally one at the start of your turn, except for this one. And everyone's
Hmm.
like, "Ooh, why?"
Yeah, I did have that as Flimble because his rallying was based on drawing cards,
Hmm.
and so it was all about building a deck where you just draw a ton of cards in your turn
Mm.
and you rally a ton.
Right.
And I changed that because it relied on a couple of mechanics that just weren't as prevalent in the game yet.
That makes sense, yeah.
So, yeah. I'm
But
I'm trying to create leaders that can be represented now as opposed to in the future sometime
hmm
later.
my other just question, because I know it was some of the like vague feedback that we were giving is, does everything still sacrifice for just one or no?
Ev- So that's proving to be good for pacing, everything to sack for one.
Okay.
We have not found because with the new rally system where you rally at the start of your
Right.
turn
When
and
you're
you get
rallying much
bonus
more, then it's
rallies.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when you rally much more frequently, that cost issue doesn't really come up as
Oh,
much.
that is good.
Mhm.
I was thinking though that would be a cool leader ability of like, okay, that it doesn't have the rally at the start of your turn, but all of your everything in your deck rally not rally now sacrifices for the amount that it costs. Would be like a very cool
Yeah,
alternate leader thing of being like, oh crap, what sort of broken stuff can I come up with where like,
yeah.
oh, like I have to put a lot of zero stuff, But then I can also start putting like some like really expensive stuff because then I can sacrifice the expensive stuff for more stuff, and it's like,
Exactly.
what
Yeah.
can I do with that? How can I break that?
There there actually is one leader on the back burner currently
Mm.
who doesn't have a rally mechanic, like you said, but everything that you sacrifice always sacrifices for two.
Ooh, that would be cool too. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, something like
Some
that.
chicanery with sacrificing and no rallying.
I've also simplified the mechanics. If you come over to the tokens,
Oh,
you
I
see
love coming
now
over to tokens.
you see now there are only the plus ones and minus ones, and then there's
Mm,
deadly, prowess, and a new one, sluggish, which is
mm,
just the opposite of prowess, instead
perfect.
of the 20 that you saw last time.
For those who have not watched this video, it was literally twice as many of these.
It was
They were all slightly different.
just barely different.
Like this one gives you plus one of that, and this one gives other people minus one of that. You're like, are
Yeah,
those actually different?
they are somewhat.
Sometimes they're kind of different.
Sometimes they're kind of different only in very specific case scenarios, and that's all we're going to say.
Oh.
Yeah, I was bored out in the mountains
Mm,
for way too long, so I sort of went overboard on the tokens.
that does
Way too overboard on the
that
tokens.
does happen sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
Well, it's looking freaking awesome. Looking like it's getting looking sorry, my brain. Oof. Looking like it's ready to come back on the show and get this on and play it. I want to these leaders really make me want to start just building decks and be like, "Ooh, what dumb shit can I
Yeah.
do with this?" It also does just mean like it's just literally easier to like I mean, this is one of the main reasons we were talking about this is like instead of being like, "Okay,
Build a
here
deck.
are all the cards. Now make a deck." You can be like, okay, give me the pile of red cards and the pile of blue cards. You know, like, okay, now I'm
Hmm.
only looking at two-thirds of the cards, you know, with this guy or
Exactly.
whatever, you know. And if you want to go crazy, you know, you do the one of these crazy leaders where I can do whatever the hell I want. Do you have any leaders that are null that can only have neutral cards?
I had that prior. The
Mm-hmm.
only Again, the only issue is limitation of cards in the current base of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Because like if you look up here, there are 9 colorless charms that you can choose, and then 55 colorless spells.
Mm-hmm. I
So
mean, that's
playing
a lot of colorless spells, you know.
so so spells are meant to be like more open,
Mm.
and like the cards you can put in most decks.
Right,
But
but
like
creature wise, there's not that much.
creature wise, there's not that much that do anything. There's these blank cards, which are basically just zero cost things that you play as fodder
Dude
and
bros,
a few
yeah.
things. Yeah, dude bros and bro dudes, things like that.
Mm,
So I think in the future, I'm going to again expand on the neutral because I did
mm.
have neutral leaders. I
I
had
mean,
that at one point,
and
but
also like having a really strong leader that can only use neutral. You know, like that
mhm,
can end up being like a balancing aspect of like, well, my leader is like a total badass, you know, like whenever,
yes.
you know, like whenever I rally, I can like just like lightning bolt somebody, you know? It's like and you're like, oh crap, that's broken. You're like, yeah, but I only have access to these like 20 creatures that are all poopy. You know, it's like, oh, okay, cool.
I
Uh,
was thinking of like a colorless one that was only about cards without abilities.
that could be cool
So like,
too. Yeah.
yeah, whenever you play a card that doesn't have an ability, you get XYZ,
Right.
something interesting like that.
Yeah.
I'm just not too
Or
sure.
even something where it's like ignore all text on all of your cards or something. So like you're literally just like looking at like you know
The
yeah
cost.
you're literally just looking at like the cost like this small corner and like none of this matters when I'm playing with this leader. You know, something crazy like that.
I
You could do
definitely want to explore the crazier aspects that card games in general can encompass.
right, right,
So I'd love to do that.
right. And I mean, I think that's one of the things that I really like about, and I think a lot of people really like about. yeah, the LCGs, the Arkham Horrors and stuff like
Yeah.
that, is that the leader or the your character card not only like gives you like your deck restrictions and your deck like guidelines and stuff like that, but because they oftentimes they have an ability that becomes like a challenge of like, okay, here's your like weird caveat, now go build a deck off of that. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
how can I break giving my minions deadly? And how can also like notably, how can I break sacrifice 3 where like sacrifice 3 is quote unquote a cost, but can I turn it into an advantage? Okay.
Exactly.
What can I go and find? Like, and that's like at least for me, that's where the real fun of a game is. Like you as the game designer basically challenging your player and being like, make something broken with this.
Exactly.
So, that's super exciting. Awesome. Um, very, very fancy schmancy. Did you have any issues, problems, bitching, moaning?
There's a lot of that. It took so long to do this. Just get the cards on things. It took so long,
Yeah, I mean,
but I
it looks
finally
like you
did
did
it.
quite a bit of like, literal just like graphic redesign, which it's always just a pain in the butt.
The third
Um,
time I had to do it, by the way.
yeah. Are you using like a program or are you literally just like doing these in GIMP or Photoshop,
I
card by
am
card?
doing it. I am doing it all in a spray, a pixel art thing, which is basically like working on a grid.
Hmm. Okay.
um I think we mentioned it earlier this stream, but Dexterous is actually like really good, especially since you have like a ton of cards. Um it's great for the uh for just making templated cards, and then what you can do is just have a spreadsheet with all the fields and like attach the spreadsheet to the cards, and it'll automatically like update it once you update it in
Yeah.
Dexterous.
Right, and it'll
So
auto populate
it
and
saves a lot of time just with workflow stuff,
and
because I was using Affinity before this, and
mhm.
just getting everything to align right, and then like going through and um
Right, and you're like,
linking the
"Oh
stuff
crap,
took
I
a
need
lot.
to change where the title is down 2 pixels." And you're like,
Yeah.
"All right, well I have to go to every
Yeah.
one of my 400 cards and move the title down 2 pixels." Whereas in Dexterous, you're like,
Hmm.
"I'm gonna move title down 2 pixels," and it just like auto populates all of
Yeah,
them.
That
and
is
it auto
So
updates
nice. Yeah, and the other thing
in
is
your mod.
they did. I want to point out to people who have watched my Dexterous video. After I made that video, they updated it where now you can just export to TTS, which typically like it would export a file, you'd have to take the JSON, you'd have to put it in your save states and then save it, which was very, very easy and way easier than a lot of things. Now they've updated it to having they like it gets uploaded to their servers and then it's pulling from their servers. So you just like export and it's like great. And then you go into your TTS file and it's already updated all of your cards. And you're like, oh, it's so nice. um, so, I mean, obviously you already did a bunch of work changing these. So that would probably be a pain in the ass. But the next time you have to make a bunch of changes, just do them in deck. Then do all of the work of changing over to something like Dexterous because it
Yeah.
makes making changes just bonkers easy. So
Yeah, yeah. I was looking into it. It's it's intimidating. It
mm,
looks intimidating. I'd
hmm
probably have to watch your video on it to
yeah, I mean
actually
my
understand
video
it.
is more of a like, hey, go use this, and here's the cool features, and less of a how-to. Um, but if you have any questions, I have been using it exclusively for Dungeons of Gul'Drun. And so I'm pretty well versed in it right now. And also, they have like an enormous wiki thing that like not wiki. What am I trying to say? Like an FAQ, like a giant FAQ of like, what do you want to do? Here's an article about how exactly how to do it. And you're like with like step
Nice.
by step instructions. You're like, cool, great.
That is pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like honestly, that it was more intimidating to me than anything else because they were like, so here's how you can take a spreadsheet and then export the spreadsheet and then connect it and then that like just doing the stuff on the spreadsheet. And I was just like, honestly, my game is not big enough to need that, and I'm not coordinating with enough people where I would need to do that. If I was coordinating with a team of like 5, I'd be like, okay, yeah,
Mhm.
definitely need to do that. But it's just me and Will doing it. I'm like, I don't know, Will will just keep you edit it sometimes and I'll edit it sometimes, and we'll just do it all on Dexterous because it's easy enough. Well, awesome. This is looking already. It's amazing how just like even a couple relatively simple changes can make such a big difference on things.
Mhm.
My one thing here is, and this is a personal thing. Because I don't think Magic the Gathering definitely doesn't do it, but I've been doing it in Dungeons of Goldrarun. Is like whenever I have like a keyword or something, I feel like to make things more clear, like either like bolding it or italicizing it or something like that. I think Magic
Yeah.
sometimes italicizes keywords. Like,
Italicizing is
it's been a long
meant
time since I
for.
played Magic. I have some Magic cards
No,
around here somewhere, but
I get it. Yeah, italicizing is for like flavor text and
right,
stuff.
that's for
They don't
flavor
do
text. And then,
anything special.
but just like to give people, especially because as I understand it, you're basically gonna like ship people a box with like, here's your 300 cards, go make decks kind of thing. Was
Mhm.
your main gist. So when you're giving people that many cards, in Magic you're only looking at like 10 cards at a time basically and being like, oh yeah, I can figure out what each of these does. But when you're looking at, 300 cards all of a sudden, being able to be like, which one of these says bury? And you're like, sometimes it's going to be up here and sometimes it's down here and sometimes it's over here. And you're like, having them be bolded definitely makes a
Would be
big difference of just being
yeah.
like, oh, okay, this is this, these all say bury. Yeah, it's just a lot easier to like visually pick out.
That's something I plan on doing in the final version. It's
Hmm.
just kind of hard with the software I'm using right now, but bolding has definitely been something I've been wanting to do because it just doesn't stand out. That's
Right,
why I had the symbols before, and that was a
right.
kind of an issue. So
It's funny you came up in my designer interview with I was just talking to Josh Earsley, who is designing the new expansion for Root. And we were talking about like symbols and stuff, and I was like, actually, let's just talk to somebody about that. I was telling him about how your game and how there's just way too many symbols, and sometimes you just I like, no, don't do that. That's bad. But yeah, these are looking way awesome. This is great. This is super awesome.
I actually have like one last thing,
Ooh,
just
one
real
last thing.
quick.
Great. I love
So I
one last
remember
thing.
last time you guys were a little confused on how armor worked.
Yeah.
So I have changed it to now be that armor is the value that you use when blocking as opposed to when attacking. So you
Like
basically have
your
two different stats
like
for
your
combat.
it's like your attack damage when defending.
Correct.
Okay. No, that makes sense. That's actually a cool thing too. Yeah, being like, if you attack into me, I'm gonna do a crap ton of damage, but I can't come and fight you.
Exactly.
Or vice
Exactly.
versa. Yeah.
It simplifies a lot more too. So it's just so helpful.
No, yeah, that is worlds easier than what it was because you're like, hey, I'm gonna do 4 damage, but then you're gonna -1, but then I get +1 from this, so those cancel each. Yeah.
It was. It was.
No, that seems really an elegant way to deal with that and still have the 3 stats that you can start messing with and really give different people different feelings.
Exactly.
Sweet. Awesome. It looks like we did lose Ash at some point. I'll have to talk to him at a later time. So I guess it's just us chickens. So unless there's anything else, I think we're done for the evening. That was it. That was a quick and easy
Yeah.
update of a couple different things that people are working on. It's good to see the progress that everyone's making.
I'm going to check out those other games too because both of them confused me so much. I love it when a game confuses me.
Dude, you want to be confused here. Nope, not workshop. This is the actually did you play my the space game that I'm working on yet?
I've played it
That's right. You
twice.
have. I was gonna say you want to be confused and I was like, "Wait a second. Random has played this. Free card. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
This is
Actually, love this game.
yeah, this is confusing. The biggest issue that I've been having right now. Sorry, I'm gonna loop back to this just because I have the stuff that I've been printing out, and it's literally just like in TTS. This is just like this is 8 units in the scaling, and this is 10, and this
Mhm.
is 20, and you're just like, okay, but like in real life, how big is this? Like, like I'm really happy with the like scale of everything in this game in TTS, but now I'm like, okay, this is like, all right, so this fighter over here is like 3/4 of a mothership. Okay, so if I want the mothership to be 1 inch, then this needs to be 0.7 inches. It's just like the most aggravating thing, but the having a 3D printer has definitely been useful because I was just able to like print it out and like put them next to each other and be like, that's way too big. No, don't. That's bad. That didn't work at all. Print it out again. It's a miracle. It's a miracle machine. God, I love a 3D
Yeah.
printer. All right, well, with that, people, thank you for people who are watching. Like and subscribe and all of that. And if you join the Discord server, which should be in the description below, you can come and join us on one of these chats. I'm trying to do them on either the first or the second Monday of every month. Give everybody a chance to come on and talk about what they're doing and if you got the problems, because everyone always has some problem. you can you
Yeah.
can you can ask and get hopefully some good advice. Maybe bad advice. Sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's good. You never know. But it is advice. And it's advice and it's free.
Right. Sometimes you just need to bounce ideas off people.
Right. Alrighty. Well, with that, we will be signing off. Thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, join the Discord, and we'll hopefully see you on one of these in the future. Until then, bye bye.